What would you think if the Satanic Temple was hosting an after-school program? Well, it may be happening at a school near you in the very near future. According to the After School Satan website, the club will emphasize science, rational thinking, and non-superstitious worldviews. The organization wants to open clubs in elementary schools around the country and right here in the Houston area later this year. They say it's only fair since various evangelical Christian groups like the Good News Club get to promote their faith to students in after-school programs. Now, this is legal according to a 2001 Supreme Court ruling, but the moral dilemma has many questioning if it should be allowed. That's our topic for this half hour, and we want to hear from you on Facebook and Twitter using the hashtag Fox26Houston for Life. Joining us live.
Lucian Graves is on the line with us. Lucian is the spokesperson for the Satanic Temple. AfterSchoolSatan.com is the website. You can tweet them at Satanic Psalms, SATANICPSALMS. Lucian, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Hey, thanks for joining us. I'm sorry we couldn't get your Skype connection. Can you hear me okay? Lucian? Oh, man.
I'm here.
Your phone is falling apart. If you're on a cell phone, if you can stand someplace where we can hear you. Maybe the what are they called? The clubs that you guys are competing with, the Good News Clubs from the Child Evangelism Fellowship, which has now created over 3,560 Good News Clubs. In other words, Christian after-school ministries in our public schools all around the country are messing with your phone. Lucian, can you speak now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I hear you fine now. So, First of all, the Satanic Temple, just for the record, is not about Satan, right?
Well, it's about Satanism as a secular atheistic philosophy that rejects any type of thought oppression.
Right, but you're not running this as a religion to worship Lucifer.
No, and in fact, our curriculum in the after-school Satan clubs don't even contain items of religious opinion insofar as we believe science is the best arbiter of truth claims. And I know some people would say that that's just a religious opinion, but I don't agree with them on that. We feel that the presence of Satanists running after-school clubs where there are evangelical clubs in schools actually sends a positive message that you can have religious disagreement and still be good, moral, and productive people. And we feel that that undermines the Good News Club message that they try to beat into children's heads, that they're sinners and that they're going to go to hell and that they deserve eternal torment for not sharing the same religious opinion that they might.
Right. Now, back in 2001, this group, the Child Evangelism Fellowship, which is trying to indoctrinate children through our public schools with a fundamentalist evangelical form of Protestantism, the Child Evangelism Fellowship has created these things called Good News Clubs for children as young as 5. And they have now placed, and the Supreme Court, this went to the Supreme Court in 2001, and the Supreme Court ruled that if a school tried to exclude them because they were religious, that was a violation of the Good News Club's free speech rights. So the CEF then went on a tear, according to this article I have by Catherine Stewart in the Washington Post. The CEF then went on a tear, and by 2011, it reported 3,560 Good News Clubs, so putting them in more than 5% of the nation's public elementary schools. So you guys are saying, hey, if you can have a Good News Club, if you can have a fundamentalist, evangelical, Protestant club indoctrinating your children, we can come in, the Satanic Temple, and we can come in and indoctrinate your children to the benefits of logic and reason and science. Do I have that right?
You have that right. But one thing I'd like to say is that the Child Evangelism Fellowship isn't only incidentally also involved with children who are as young as 5 years old. They specifically target children who are between 5 and 8 to 5 to 12 years old because they've run demographics and they feel that those are the best ages at which somebody is impressionable enough to buy into their depraved superstitious beliefs. So they've opened this door on free speech grounds where we can walk right in And we haven't created this issue, but we're hoping we're making people think about it more clearly. And I also feel that the Supreme Court ruling was simply incorrect. Clarence Thomas wrote for the majority opinion, stating that this was a free speech issue and that you couldn't discriminate against religious speech in schools just because it was religious. Right. And we disallow political speech at schools all the time, and nobody questions that, nor should they. But somehow religion was held as a different category, and I don't think it's discrimination to say that you're not allowing religion in schools. What would be discrimination is if they were allowing a particular religious group into schools, but not the other.
Right. So, and arguably by this Supreme Court decision, was that a 5-4 decision, by the way? Do you know?
5-4?
Yeah. Do you know how that? What?
I believe it was. I'm fairly certain it was.
Okay.
Tudor wrote the dissent.
So the right-winger Catholics
Tudor anticipated that something like this might happen.
Right. Right. And all, the right-winger Catholics on the court all said, religion in schools is just fine. Well, if you grow up in Catholic schools, I suppose that doesn't seem all that weird. But it strikes me as interesting. I mean, literally under this Supreme Court ruling, ISIS could come to the United States if they were on their best behavior and start ISIS clubs in schools. I mean, at least you guys are secular. You're promoting science and rationality and reason. You're using Satan to get attention and point out the hypocrisy of this. But I mean, it literally could be ISIL, or it could be, it could be, the latest Jim Jones cult. He's long dead, but there's no shortage of weird little Christian cults running around or even cults of other religions that could be popping up in our public schools. And you're pointing this out. Have you approached any schools saying, hey, we want to open a Satan club here?
Yeah, we've sent emails, and they'll receive letters this week to 9 separate school districts. And Washington Post actually published a follow-up article to their first article yesterday and reached out to many of these school districts. And many of the school districts have already affirmed that our clubs are probably within their policies, and they're indicating already that they can't reject us. They already know this because they've been beaten into submission by the Liberty Council. So I think a lot of people look at this and they think, well, there's no way this will come to pass. What they don't realize is that there's very little options for the school districts to keep us out. Now, what I think the school districts can do is, if they can't fight this on church separation grounds, and for some reason the Establishment Clause has been thrown out on this issue, they can revise new standards of conduct for after-school clubs that don't allow for an organization like the Good News Club to come in and try to indoctrinate children to indoctrinate other children into their religious thinking. They can look at these crass behaviors, these disgusting behaviors being put forward by the Child Evangelism Fellowship, and craft policies that are broadly applied that just simply don't allow for those things.
There you go. Okay, Lucian Graves, spokesperson for the Satanic Temple. AfterSchoolSatan.com is the website. Lucian, thank you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be right back. Would you like your kid to go to a after-school Satan club? Stick around.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.
It's what one group wants to do after school that's getting a lot of attention in Pensacola today. Satan After School, the Satanic Temple's extracurricular program for public schools, lists an Escambia County elementary school on its official website. But as the CW55's Haley Minogue found out from speaking to the superintendent, the group does not have the go-ahead yet.
This is a video from Satan After School's website, a website where CA Wise Elementary was named to host the program. The county superintendent says that's not happening. He got a letter requesting the program but never okayed anything.
I've tried to be perfectly clear since then. We do not have a club. don't plan on having a club and have never had that kind of a club on that campus.
The superintendent says there is a certain procedure involved in starting one of these after-school groups, and that procedure was not followed. It includes getting a faculty advisor for the group and making sure there's, of course, interest from the student body.
There's a process. If you're going to set up a club on our campus, we're not going to discriminate, but in order to have a club, there should be some interest.
But one mother who lives across the street from the school says ever allowing this group would be a huge mistake.
If they ever did approve it, yeah, I would want to switch them to a different school. It's not to be mean to the school, it's just if you're going to allow that type of stuff in, there ain't no telling what you're going to allow in there.
For now, it sounds like no change of school will be needed. Just a false alarm, the superintendent says he's moving past.
What's the purpose? To create some stampede? I don't have time for that. My focus is schools beginning. We're going to have a great year at Wise Elementary.
Reporting in Pensacola,
It's crazy, it really is.
Haley Minogue, the CW55 News at 9.
Now, we reached out to the Satanic Temple, West Florida, but did not hear back from them. They did post on their Facebook page that they've asked for a copy of the protocol and for a list of public elementary schools where religious programs are allowed to operate.
It was fun. Okay.
Hey, today's Facebook conversation this morning after that after-school Satan Club. We talked about it earlier in the 7 o'clock hour.
And it's getting news all across the country. You know, people are saying, you know, you bring up Satan, you bring up Satanists, and you elicit a reaction. So I put it on my Facebook page.
Especially when you think about putting it into schools somehow, some way.
And with snacks and things like that.
Yeah.
So I posted this on my Facebook page. It's Troy Hayden Fox 10 on there as well. And Phil Thompson said, I understand where they're coming from, the Satanist group. But I think mostly it's a publicity stunt. They have to know there's no special favors given for any particular sect or religion. And then down here, Michael and Michelle and Juan say, never, oh my goodness, yikes, messing with the dark side brings about evil. And I'm not sure that that's what they're after here. So let's get it straight from the horse's mouth. Stu DeHaan, head of the Arizona chapter of the Satanic Temple. Stu, thank you for being here today. And tell me what this is all about.
Hey, thank you for having me. What this is about is not special privileges, just like you said. It's about equal privileges. And what the Satanic Temple has done is offered an alternative to the current Good News Club, which is the evangelical after-school program, which seems to be the only viewpoint represented in these public schools. So what we've done is we've petitioned to have our after-school program so working parents have an alternative if they don't want their children to be proselytized by that certain very specific religious point of view.
Okay, so what would the after-school club that you would have, what would you guys do? What would it look like?
So one of the fundamental tenets of the Satanic Temple is that we should adhere to the best scientific knowledge of our times. So what we have is a program that's secular. It doesn't proselytize. The Satanic Temple has no interest in converting children or getting them to become Satanists or even educating them about Satanism, but it's more of a program about science, logic, reason, and it avoids topics like, you know, eternal damnation, superstition, supernatural, things that the CEF and the Good News Club teach in their program.
So, Stu, let's cut to the chase here. Do you really expect anybody to sign up for this? Have you seen any interest at all in this, or are you just trying to make a point here?
It was actually requested. I had a parent from that school that we petitioned to have it in approach me and say, hey, you know, have you guys considered having your own club? Because it's a very expensive alternative to send my kid anywhere else because it's the only free program. And from the internet, you know, other than the death threats that we get, we've had a lot of support and a lot of interest and a lot of emails from parents saying, from across the state saying, hey, are we going to have one in my school? Because I would sign my kid up for that. Okay,
and I wanted to mention this. You were talking about parents seeking interest in this. This would not be a forced thing if parents don't want anything to do with this. They would have to give permission. If their kids, if I have a child that attends an after-school program, I would have to give permission for my child to attend your after-school program. Is that correct?
That's correct, absolutely. And we in no way want to force this on anyone, just like the Good News Club doesn't. Whatever after-school program a child is in, the parent, of course, has to approve it because the child's not going to make his own decisions about where he's going after school. So it's something that is absolutely voluntary, and we're operating it the same way as the Good News Club in that it's the same policy, it's under the same law, and we're going by the school policies, and we're doing it by the books to make sure that our program fits in with the curriculums that are in place right now.
Stu, if you don't teach about Satan or you don't teach about the dark side or the occult, why are you the satanic cult? Why are you a Satanist? Why even use the name Satan?
Well, the difference between the satanic culture and, a lot of these Judeo-Christian cultures is we do have absolutely no interest in proselytizing. But what we do have a very high value in is to separate religion from the supernatural and from the superstitious. We don't believe that religion has to be that way. We actually think that's very harmful, especially to children. When you're telling kids if they don't think a certain way or act a certain way, they're going to be condemned to eternal damnation. We think that's very harmful. And in the satanic culture, we avoid that. We teach self-empowerment and logic and reason, and to take responsibility for your own actions. And those are some of the highest in the satanic religion, essentially.
All right, Stu DeHaan, thank you so much for joining us,
explaining
what you guys are hoping to do.
Yeah, people talking about this all over the country today, too.
It's all over various news organization websites and things like that. So thank you. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, let's follow up with Stu, too, and see if he gets anybody in that. My suspicion is you're not going to get anybody signing up for that thing. That's just my suspicion.
I don't think so, but
yeah.
I mean,
we'll see. Let's follow up.
Okay.